Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. It's a pleasure having you with me today. Absolutely. I want to ask you a couple of questions. How did you wake up this morning? Are you in a good mood? Did you lay down okay last night? Did things work out for you, before you lay down? Is it a time frame issues like I gotta hurry up and go to work, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta get the kids off. It's so much that's going on in the world today. But the most important thing is everything is right on schedule. So we welcome you. We welcome you. We welcome you. Good morning, Grand Rising again. My name is Dr. Debbie Green, and this is Soulful Solutions. This is Soulful Solutions. It's a pleasure being here with you today. A pleasure being with you. Hello, man. I tell you what, it's raining here in Georgia. It is quite chilly, as one would say. I guess that's normal, isn't it? Because the weather is changing. So I tell you what, the people need to change with it. How about that? Well, our topic is pretty interesting today. What's happening is a lot of things are going on in people's lives, and one of those things is called relationship. And we're talking about monogamous, heterosexual, or relationships, just period. Just looking at the ramifications of what relationships are. So our topic for today is called blinded love. Blinded love. Have you ever been blind by love? You say, well, Dr. Green, what is that? It's when you can't see for looking. It's like so much is going on at one time, but most of all, you've been compromising. You've been compromising with this relationship that you really don't want to be in, but you're in it, and you've been literally compromising. So I want to go to that. I want to talk about that. I want to pull that apart today because some of you could possibly be in a relationship that's very unhealthy, and it could be causing you mental stress, mental issues such as anxiety and depression, and most of all, it just could be a damper on your life, and you've been dealing with it, you know, all this time. All this time. You've been dealing with it all this time. So the question is, when is enough? You know, what is it that holds you in a place that you don't want to be in, and I mean, I understand. Okay, people love, they love to the end, like, I love you to the moon and back. You ever heard somebody say that? Okay, that means you really love that person, right? But wait a minute, I thought love was supposed to be pure. And you must say, Dr. Green, you must be living in a fairy tale land. Well, it is supposed to be pure. You know, it shouldn't be all tainted, and you got to go through changes to love somebody. One man they're talking to you, next man they're not. They could be a narcissist. Oh man, come on now, gaslighting you. You know those people, you know what I'm saying, that say one thing and then do another and say, "Oh, I didn't say that. I didn't do that." Come on, right? And we compromise. We as women, we as men, we compromise. We compromise with dysfunction. Why is that? What causes one to stay in a relationship that they know isn't healthy? Is it for the children, money, assets? You know, what is it, right? And how long does it happen? I mean, it seems like it happens like a long time. And the reason why I brought this topic today is because I have a few clients that are in positions like this. And I hope they're listening to me. And they have gotten to the point where they're so broken, they're so brainwashed that I must stay in this relationship. Why? And it's always for the children. That's what one of them tell me. Oh, it's for the children. That's right. That's the reason why I'm staying in a relationship. I said, well, do you not think your children can see that there's something wrong with this relationship? They can look at mommy and daddy and tell mommy and daddy's not happy. You know, one minute y'all talking, next minute you're not. You know, somebody may be sleeping in the guest room. You don't think children notice that? I don't care if they are 4 years old, they notice. They may not say nothing to you. And then you got some of them that just bold enough to say, Mommy, what's wrong with daddy? Or daddy, what's wrong with mommy? Then you got to explain. You know what I'm saying? Well, I want to give you some strategies, but most of all, some awareness when it comes to relationships of compromise, because that's really what I'm talking about. Relationships of compromise is when we compromise. We got this thing called passive aggressive that's going around. Oh, I'm going to do it, but I really don't want to do it. I'm going to say it, but I really don't want to say it. And then it becomes a issue, right? So who's in the wrong? Is it the one that is allowing it to happen or the one that's doing it? Good question, huh? Well, I'll tell you what, if both of them are compromising a relationship that is not healthy, there's a good chance both are wrong, especially if children are involved. So you're saying, well, Dr. Green, should we just split up and go our separate ways and, break up the family? Well, the family is already broken up, isn't it? If it's already broken, I mean, what would be the better way to do this that would not harm anyone, including yourself? It's called mutual understanding, something we don't have much in the world today. Unfortunately, it's far in between. Mutual understanding, open communication. Okay, I'm just throwing it out there. Open, which means I'm not going to judge you for your words, and I hope you won't judge me for mine. Trust. I got to trust me first before I can trust you. Loyalty. Loyalty is extremely important, to be loyal to your mate. You can't be cheating over here and then you still going home, you know, and you going home and y'all are arguing, going back and forth, but then you have, what I'm saying, you got a side piece. You don't think your children know that if you have children? You don't think they notice something different? Well, loyalty is extremely important. It's the basics of any marriage, any relationship. Before marriage, it should be something that needs to be set down, talked about, understood, ciphered, all the above. So when those things are not happening, then what? When there is no what they call a essence to a relationship, now it's just existing. What's going to happen down the line? Don't you know most divorces start off that way? They first start off where someone is compromising and they compromise for a certain length of time to the point where they can't compromise anymore. They become angry. They become grudgeful. Oh, I can't stand you type of relationships. Why does it have to get to that before we understand that we're no longer compatible? We're no longer healthy for each other. What's wrong with just saying, hey, let's just do this as friends? Why we got to fight so much? What's causing us to become so bitter? Well, here's some factors. When long time ago, you might have felt betrayed by someone. And it could be someone even in high school or something of that nature. It could even been an area where you might have felt betrayed or not taken seriously, taken for granted, even by a parent figure. It could be any one of those. Okay, that changes you. It changes you when it comes to relationships because now you are more sensitive to relationships than others. So it does, it changes you. And I'm not saying it changes you for the worse, it changes you where you become more emotional when things start to change in your relationships. You may not be able to understand that how to communicate effectively. You may become too impulsive or reactive instead of proactive. You may become very judgmental and assuming that someone's doing this to you or someone said this. You may be a victim in your relationships. And if you are a victim in your relationship, you always feel like something is happening to you and you will always blame someone else and will not take accountability or responsibility for your own actions. You see what I'm saying? So, this is what causes it's so many factors, guys, that causes a relationship to go to a point where it's non-functional. And people live this way. This is the oddest thing. Don't you know they'll live this way for years? You have some people living this way right now. He's sleeping on the east and she's sleeping on the west of the house. Oh, that's right. We don't want to break up because we have to sell the house. We have to depart the assets. Or we have to tell the kids. We have to go through this. We have to go through that. Okay. So both of you just going to remain miserable? And then you start adapting to the misery, which is a big, big problem. Okay. All right. So how do we come out of this? What would be the healthiest thing to do? Well, number one is to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge whether this is something that you're living in or not. Acknowledge it. When you acknowledge it, then you can say, okay, this is me. This you. I'm not talking about the other person in the relationship. This is what's going on in my life. Oh my goodness. I know it's not easy. I understand because you may say, it's not my fault. It's their fault. They're the one did this to me. Okay, we can go right back into that victim mentality all over again. Do you see how it works? When you become a victim in a relationship, you become compromised. So, kings and queens, I'm talking about men and women, if you are compromised in your relationship, you are not happy. You are not. Are you pretending to be? Did someone tell you you had to compromise in order to be in a relationship? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I just had a thought. Maybe it's because you don't want to be lonely. Is that it? You don't like living alone? So you just let anybody in your home? Listen, I'm not judging you. Please understand. I'm just asking you a question because most people have compromised to misery. They compromised relationships and they think it's okay and it's not. And it's causing major, major damage on the nervous systems of those individuals as well as on their mental psyche. It's not healthy to compromise. It's healthy to be in a relationship that is, you know, that's doable, that's working. What is a working relationship? Do you know what's a working? I just gave you some concepts earlier. I said open communication, open communication, loyalty, trust, respect, you know. And I mean, I get it. You have some people that might have been married for more than one time, more than two, three times. Okay, so they still want to be married because they're used to someone being in their life. So when are you going to be comfortable with you? just with you. When are you going to be comfortable with yourself? Right? When you're comfortable with yourself, then you can choose what's worthy of you. You can choose the person that needs to be in your life that feels, you know, that you feel that is worthy, valuable, worth it. But if you don't have any worth in yourself, then that's when things start to become problematic because then you will, what is it? Fall for anything, suffer for all. Fall for anything and suffer for all. And you find yourself, unfortunately, being taken advantage of. And then you're going to get angry. Most people get angry at the other person. Then some people just get angry at themselves. Or why I keep giving them things and they never give me nothing. Why do I have this person living in my home and they haven't paid a bill since they've been here? Why am I still, having sex with this person when I know they're going and cheating on me and coming back to my house? Hello, I'm just asking questions. If it's hitting the heartstring, then that must be you. Why? Why is the major question? Why are you doing it? Why do you feel you need to do it? See, these are questions that a lot of people don't often, take seriously because they're so used to doing. You know what it's called? And I did this a couple of shows back. It's called emotional addiction. You are addicted to the emotions concerning that person. You are addicted to making them happy even when you're not. You have built up a habit and a will tolerance to this relationship that you're in. And now it's becoming very problematic. Matter of fact, it was like that before you even started. It's a good chance it was. So I want you to really take the time and just ask yourself, is this worth it? Is it still worth it for me to still be in this relationship? Don't I deserve freedom? Don't I deserve to feel worthy? Don't I deserve to feel valuable? You know, I know there's someone else out there that can fulfill your desires. We have millions and billions of people in the world. And you're like, no, I know what this one is. I don't want to start over. It's not starting over. It's change. Okay? Change is necessary for change. Change is necessary for change.
Women have the power to transform this world. We
Change is necessary for change. Sorry about that. So I want you to take the time again and look and ponder, think about any relationship you could possibly be in because again, this does not have to be heterosexual. It doesn't have to be just between a man and a woman. It could be between a daughter and a mother. It could be between a father and a son. Dysfunctional relationships have no form or no respect of persons. It could be many different areas. And if you are in a relationship that's unhealthy for you, you may want to examine that. You may want to change something about how you're handling it. And I think the person that you feel that is, causing, or do you think that you are giving too much of your time to? I think they need to know. I think you need to sit down nicely, humbly, assertively, and sit them down and ask them, how do you feel about our relationship? Don't come to them, oh, I'm tired of you taking advantage of me, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to help the situation. Remember, mutual understanding, communication. You will get more out of a mutual discussion than you would out of a divided discussion. A divided discussion is clearly saying you are doing something to me or I am doing something to you. No, we are in this relationship together, which means that we both are having issues. So we both need to sit down and talk about our issues. And when you come to the table, you give that person an opportunity to say what they want to say. And it should be an open table, okay? Open discussions are open tables, which means that, oh, there's no question. Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that question. I'm not going to, no, it's an open discussion. You hear what they have to say, even when you don't agree with it. It's okay. You don't have to agree with everything, but at least hear what they have to say. It's called active listening. When you active listen, then you can hear with your heart. Active listening to this person that you care about, because you must care about them because you're still in a relationship, whether it's dysfunctional or not. You're still there. So let's repair. I think it will be wonderful. It will be so great if you allowed yourself to repair yourself in this relationship. So the question is, I want you to repair you now. I'm not talking about repairing them. They have to do their own work. That's the reason why you have an open forum discussion. And you ask them, how have I been affecting your life? Tell me what you think, how we've been getting along, and hear what they have to say. And you ask them, well, can I share? You know, can I share? Can I tell you how I think we've been getting along? And before you realize you're in a conversation. But you got to remember, don't take things personally. What you want to do is keep it open and keep it fluid. Don't take anything personally. Even if you hear something like you say, hey, that's not my fault. Why are they accusing me? No, don't be a victim in the conversation. Listen, actively listen. When you actively listen, then that is when you get the most information. You cannot get any information if you're a victim, because you're going to feel offended. You're going to feel like, you've been taken for granted, rejected, or all those emotions that people feel when they're being attacked by somebody else. You're coming in to find out what the issue is from the other side. You know what your issues are with this person, but you also want them to know the issues that you have with them, and vice versa. It should be back and forth until there's a mutual understanding. And if there's not one, it takes two to agree. So if there's not a mutual understanding, then there has to be a division. That's just the bottom line. And you better say, oh, well, Dr. Green, we already discussed that. And we're not going back that way. No, you need to discuss it before you depart. Most relationships, especially marriages, they have prenuptial, marriage counseling before they get married. Well, some of them. And really and truly, they need to have discussions before they get divorced, especially if children are involved. I want to divide from this person, separate from this person, divorce this person, and I want us to have a good understanding that it just didn't work. And we should part as mutual partners, friends, as one would say. So when you don't depart as friends, you depart as enemies. And this is how things happen. Unfortunately, children get hurt. They get their feelings hurt because you're still fighting. Finances get all twisted when it comes to child, you know, children support from wherever it's coming from because you're still fighting. Divorces, even after people break up, it still goes on and on and on. People still hold the bitterness in their hearts. So I want you to be able to again, to look at those situations. And again, this is a heterosexual relationship that I'm referring to, but again, this can happen in any other part of your family. So if you got a broken relationship between you and your daughter, you and your son, you and your mother, you and your father, I mean, any of those relationships are very similar. It can even happen in friends. Friends let other friends take advantage of them and they get angry. So compromised relationships are blinded by love is can be in any particular area. So we're going to go to a break, and when I come back, I want to talk about, you know, the different outcomes of compromised relationships and see if this rings a bell with you. Okay? We'll be right back.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solutions Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. Mama Joy. And I'm Brother Rosemary. Join us every second Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time, here on the Female Solutions Global Radio TV show for Neighborship of Joy. We'll have powerful conversations inviting women to walk in the light. So call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak to the host. You can also join us live on the Female Solution Facebook page and YouTube channel. So stay tuned on the second Saturday on the Neighborship of Joy. Tune in to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Thursdays at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to hear great topics and stories on grief and turn it into victory. Join Dr. Debbie Green to listen to stories of triumph and learn how to overcome. You are not alone in your life, and there is hope in the darkest hour. This is your time to learn strategies and solutions to improve your life. It's your time. So join Dr. Debbie Green with Soulful Solutions and call in on Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 515-605-9325 with comments and questions. Look to hear from you real soon.
All right, all right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. It's a pleasure having you with me today. Our topic today is blinded by love, compromised relationships. Again, blinded by love. As I went to the break, I was also thinking about how all of this happens. We just go through so many different changes for those who are just joining me. We go through so many different changes, as I spoken before, that are factors that causes broken relationship can lead all the way back from childhood all the way now to adulthood. And a lot of us are still living with those childhood traumas that, it's hard to trust somebody. It's hard to build, a promise, a relationship, a promise relationship, in our lives. And we find ourselves just really becoming more and more, vulnerable as we live, it seems. So I just want to take a moment as well and, go over like 11 ways to rebuild a broken relationship, because we were discussing how it happens. It causes, so many different things in our lives, like, broken pieces in our children, even it can even come to our job. It can come to our workplace, because we're not happy. If you're not happy, every area of your life is just not going to be happy. So, let's look at how we can rebuild. How can we rebuild something that's been broken? One of those things is, another one is take responsibility. As you take responsibility, each person needs to learn how to take responsibility and for their own feelings. Like, I mean, you have to be emotionally available for yourself. I got to feel through this relationship. I'm hurting. So when I'm hurting, I need to be aware of my hurt. I can't just really focus on everyone else's or someone else's hurt and, like, and making them happy and I'm not happy. Because this is what people do. Oh, I better not say that because they're going to get upset. Oh, I better not do this. They're going to get angry at me. No, no, you got to be you. So you got to take responsibility for your own self and allow yourself to, live, make decisions based upon what you feel you need. And you want to learn from, the things that you're going through, so you can share learn experiences. For example, you had some disagreements with someone. You can say, hey, can I talk to you for a moment? I see that, we have not been getting along. We, not you and I, we have not been getting along. So can we talk about this? Because I don't want to continue this. I value your relationship with me. I want us to be able to talk to each other without fighting or without, closed lips, as I call it. Oh, I better not say that because they're going to do this. No, you should be able to communicate with each other effectively. So, that's a life partner, right? True life partners often listen to each other without any type of ridicule, or when they want to take each other seriously. They want to respect each other with their words and their actions. When you no longer respect a person with your words and your actions, then there's no relationship. It's all over. It's non-existent, but you're still there. Okay, what do you think is going to happen? It's just going to start to transform into something dysfunctional. And we haven't even gotten to where it becomes a domestic issue. When you start feeling disrespected, or you may be disrespecting someone else with your words, your actions. So, again, let's talk about rebuilding. Okay. Recognize the ways you're feeling lead to your actions. And most of all, take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility for your words. And you always say to yourself, if I say this, how am I going to be affected if I say this to them? How, if I say this, how would I like if I said this to myself? So you often, go over those words before you just come out and start talking to people, and not realizing that you're saying words of injury, because it can happen. Words of injury usually comes from when people are impulsive and when they're hurt. Number two is remember the good times. Hey, we had some good times. We had some good times. We might have had some bad times, but we also had some good times. So remember the good times. Can you recall a moment where it was good? Even in new relationships as well. You know, even in new relationships. It's like we are just getting to know each other. So if we're going to go through a little changes at first, that's fine. Before people get into serious relationships, they need to talk to each other to find out if they're emotionally compatible. Emotionally compatible. Some people are not emotionally compatible. They may be compatible in sex. They may even be compatible in words. But when it comes to, oh, you just push my buttons. You ever heard somebody say that? You push my buttons? Okay, you got some kind of buttons already in the relationship, especially if it's new. It ain't even been a month or two yet, but you feel your buttons being pushed. Guess what? Them buttons ain't for that man or that woman just coming in your life. That's from something else you done had going on that you have not healed from. Let's just keep it real. You have not healed from that. So don't bring that into the relationship because it's going to stay dysfunctional. It's going to stay dysfunctional. What you want to do is be aware of, again, of your emotions, be aware of your actions and the words that you're choosing to put out there out of your mouth. So again, if you don't want anyone to speak to you in any type of form or way, be careful how the words you speak to them. And remember the good times. We often get caught up in the bad times, which can lead to, verbal anger and fights, but at some point you had a honeymoon phase. You had a honeymoon phase. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You had a honeymoon phase. So that honeymoon phase, reflect back on that. Even when you're angry, people say, wow, yeah, we did have some good times. Okay, you know what that's going to do? It's going to soften that bitterness that's inside you at that moment. Now you can have a clear mind of talking to this person like a human being, not as you feeling that you're the victim. Okay? Oh, you said this to me and I'm going to say that back to you. Why we got to fight? Why can't we just get along? And if we can't get along, why can't we just depart as friends? Okay? This is a foundation of building a healthy relationship. Number three is focus on the present. Worst thing you could possibly do. Oh, people do this all the time. When they get in an argument, they bring up and rehash all old things. Why they do that, y'all? I remember when you did this to me. Last week you did that. Why do people do this to themselves? Yes, we went through a breakup. Yes, we did this. Yes, we did that. But you don't have to bring it back up. Stay in the moment. If you upset at someone, just talk about what you're upset about. Don't go pulling and rehashing. The whole people you say, I'm rehashing. No, don't do that. You know what that causes? It causes a person to feel very bitter about you. You always throwing something up in my face. Have you heard that statement lately? Okay. That is the reason why you're hearing it. And that might be doing it to you as well, right? Okay. So this is what you do when that happens. When someone brings something from the past to the present, you ask them a question. Okay, which one of these, just this is the question, which one of these issues you want to deal with now? Because I see that you have not healed from the past issue because you just brought it up. So, which one do you want to discuss? Do you want to discuss the one you just brought up, or do you want to discuss the one that we're dealing with now? Just so I can have a good understanding of what you're talking about. Okay. Because they're not going to say, oh, we need to talk about both of them. No, let them choose. Don't choose for them. Don't get upset, oh, because you bringing it up. No, that person has not healed from it. And if you find yourself doing that, you need to ask yourself a question. Have you healed from it? Because if you haven't healed from it, you're going to always hold it in your heart every time you have a disagreement with that person. And again, I'm not just talking about, a man and a woman relationship. I'm talking about mother and, mothers and their daughters or their sons or vice versa. It can happen in any relationship. It can even happen in dealing with children. The worst thing a parent can do is bring stuff up that a child did in the past into the present. You know what you're doing? You're betraying their trust. You're gonna affect their trust. If you did not heal from what they did, you need to pull them to the side another time and say, hey, remember what you did last week? Let's talk about that. You don't talk about it in the discussion that is happening at that particular moment. Because they're gonna feel betrayed. This is what people do though. They do this all the time and they want to know why you got broken relationships. They want to know why relationships are falling apart. It is because of how you are speaking your words, your actions, and your behaviors, right? If you don't want it, don't give it. If you don't want to deal with it, okay, you got to ask yourself, it's just going to linger on if you don't deal with it. So at some point, you have to digress, which is put yourself in a position and feel humble. Okay, let me get up to a humble moment. Let me get to a humble moment right now, and so I can discuss this with this person because I don't want to be fighting and going back and forth and walking by somebody like I'm a shadow, like I'm invisible in my own home. Don't you know people do this? They live this way. They live this way, and it causes major, major, major problems. Red flags. Red flags. I got a comment for one of our Facebook watchers. Minister Carolyn Heron said, I've learned once I've discussed the issue, I'm done with it. Forgive for real. Beautiful. Beautiful. That is awesome. Yes. That is how we can heal. We cannot heal if we're constantly holding on to bitterness when it comes to a relationship. Some people, rather than repair, they want to keep things going on and on and on. If you are in a relationship like that, when you want to repair something and want to heal from it, and this person is constantly going on and on, you need to have an open forum discussion with that person. Seriously. And let them know this discussion, this conversation I'm having with you is so we can heal. We can heal because this can't keep going on. And if you're holding grudge, any kind of grudge or anything in your heart against me, I need to know about it. I need to know about it. And the reason why I need to know is because I don't want to keep going. I don't want this to keep going on. Do you know how hard it is to live with someone and they're holding a grudge against you? That's difficult and it's miserable. It's miserable to do so because you're not happy. It's going to affect you in some kind of way. Okay, number 4 is plan for the future. Plan for the future. After you ponder the good times, after you stay and have a reality check, you need to ask them, okay, what do we do now? Okay, are you lacking in attention? Do you think I need to change? Or we need to change to be more compatible to each other? Maybe we need to change our habits, how we're responding to each other, just so that we can both feel loved. It's not what I need to change for you. No, what we need to change for us. Please use those love language. what we need to change for us. That's what's important. Because if I'm just changing for you and you're not changing for me, okay, well, we right back to where we began because it will happen. Let's get to the root of the issue and seek out ways to overcome it, you know, um, and be able to seek a thing out. How do we do that? Communication. I must be able to communicate effectively because I got to rebuild the trust. I got to find a better way, not just to make you happy, but to keep us happy. Us. I have to be happy in the relationship as well as you're happy in the relationship. I don't want it to be lopsided. No, and you should go to that person and let them know I am concerned about your happiness. I know we've been arguing back and forth for years, but today it's not you and it's not just me, it's us. That will change everything in that person's life. I'm telling you. It will catch them off guard because, especially if you've been used to going back and forth at each other all the time. Now, that person's going to say, wow, this person really cares about me. Yeah, you always cared. This did not always show that you care because, again, some people feel like they're walking on eggshells, right? When you got to walk on eggshells and somebody's angry, the only way to soften the blow is love. And when you have given out of love, and if that person is still bitter with you, then that ain't none of your business. It's no longer your fault because you can clearly tell them, hey, I came to you out of love. Why you want to love me now? You didn't love me before. Okay, now you back in the past. You still hurting from the past issue? I told you which one of these you want to deal with today. We can heal right now, or you can stay miserable. Which one you want to do? Which road do you want to take? Because I'm not going backwards. I'm going forward. That's where I'm going. Now you can go with me, or I can go alone. And those, and you say, wow, that's kind of upfront. Yes. You know what it's called? Being assertively humble. Because you ain't screaming it. You're talking to them. But you also letting them know what you're not going to do and what you are going to do. I have another comment from Carolyn. She says, I was married to someone who thought this type of behavior was normal, walking around the house for months as if I was invisible. I would try over and over to talk and show affection, but what that person was in that space, it was just per rejection towards me. Well, Carolyn, I'm going to let you know we can't make everyone happy. Some people are bitter within themselves. And when that relationship gets to that point, it's over. When you want to, show love or give love to a person and all they do is just reject, divide, separate. That's all you get with words and actions and gestures. You leave me no other choice but to leave you alone. Literally, leave you alone. And I know it's not an easy thing because people are loved to the end. They're loved to the end and back. But if we're repairing, if we are healing together, one of those things you definitely want to do is get some counsel. It will be good to get some professional counseling if you can and find out, how you can better help yourself heal from it as well as the other person. You can do some, counseling, couples counseling, or family counseling, whatever, comes, whatever you need, but you want to do, start off fresh, get a fresh start. And all of us to get a fresh start, we again have to have a healing point, and a discussion has to be made. Number 6, which is a very important one, and I said this earlier, practice active listening. And you say, well, Dr. Green, what exactly is active listening? It's when you talk so much, you don't listen and don't observe. Active listening is when you observe the actions of another individual as well as observe their words. Observe. I didn't say participate. I said observe. That means I'm going to sit back and just watch. I'm going to watch you. I'm not watching you because I am paranoid by you. I'm watching you is because I want to be able to understand who you are. Most relationships that start off, people really don't know the person until years after it's over. After, like, you can look back on, like, the first 5 years of a relationship. It's when you're just getting used to each other. So when they say you make it past the first year, there's a good chance you're gonna make it past the 5th year. If you make it past the 5th year, there's a good chance you're gonna make it to 10. This is real. Because if you can't make it past the first year, you're not gonna make it to 5. There's no way. There's no way. So that's just not going to happen. But if you practice active listening, now this may be something that may really help you. Your listening skills is very important. Observe nonverbal cues and look at the full picture. Look at the bigger picture of things. Don't just assume, oh, I know you was doing this, but you have no evidence. Don't just assume. Stick to fact only. And don't allow yourself to go outside your relationship to hear what someone else has to say about the person that you are involved in. Whether it's your partner, your mother, sister, brother, don't matter. If someone's coming, well, they said this. No. They did this. No. Don't come to them. I heard you did so and so and so. That's the worst thing you can do. You wasn't even there. Now, the thing about this is, if you think that they are doing something, you need to ask them, can we just be truthful today? Just open your mouth and just say, can we just be truthful today? Whatever is said in this conversation is going to stay right here. And whatever is said, I'm not going to take you personally. I'm not going to take you personally. I'm not going to let it bother me to the point where I start, getting angry. I'm going to say what's on my heart, and I hope you can too, because I want you to actively listen to me. And ask for clarification. If you're not clear about something, and you don't judge it, don't just assume. Ask, excuse me, can you explain that a little more? I'm not sure about that. What did you mean? What did you mean? I didn't get that. Always ask for clarification in relationships. Never just assume that you know, because a lot of times your assumptions are wrong. So after we do that, after we get into a point where we are, actively listening, we take responsibility, we're remembering the good times, we're focused on the present, we're getting some counsel. Okay, now it's time to work. Oh, wait a minute. You said, well, I thought everything was over, Dr. Green. No, it's time to work for the relationship. Because remember, you are healing. Both of you. Reconcile. Look at that. Reconcile. May not be easy, right? But we're going to work at it. And a lot of times we get all caught up when people get angry. Don't you know anger does not mean that you don't always dislike a person? It just means that you like them, but you're frustrated, that you still love them, but you don't know how to get to them. It's not always what you think it is. People get frustrated when they don't know what to do. Just like you. You get frustrated if you lose control of a situation. You may feel, agitated, irritated. Okay. That doesn't mean that you don't want it. It's just that you don't know how to get it. Okay. So the thing about this is the open discussions is really going to help you, especially with therapy. If you choose not to get therapy, then that means you have to do the hard work yourself and not have a medium point, which is a person that is going to share each person with each person so they can have a fluid conversation. So if you go to, we call it have go to Jesus tabletop conversation. Okay, which means I will come in all truth and all spirit. No, I ain't gonna let the fleshly part of my mind overtake me. When I say fleshly part, I mean I'm not gonna let my emotions overtake me talking to you. No, I'm gonna actively listen to you. I'm only coming with the truth that I have, that I know. I'm not going to come with no prejudgments, nothing of that nature. I'm not going to assume anything. So we got to go through a quick break. And when I come back, I'll finish the rest of my healing tips for you. Okay? We'll be right back.
What if you could live to be 120 years old and remain active, healthy, alert, and vibrant? Our bodies are made up of cells that are constantly rejuvenating. So if we take proper care of ourselves, we can literally defy aging. Join us every Tuesday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time to learn about self-care from Tucson Essentials on the Female Solution Blog Talk Radio Show. Learn how to help your body and yourself feel rejuvenated each day through proper nutrition, sleep, frequency medicine, and many unconventional methods of self-care. I'm Jody Susan. Join me and my amazing guests by calling in at 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. We'll help you achieve a breakthrough in your health today. I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Life transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Soo Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
All right, all right. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. It is wonderful having you with me today. And if you're just joining us at the top of the hour, our topic today is Blinded by Love, Compromised Relationships. So before I went to break, I was talking about how we can build the relationships and things to be aware of to improve them. And one of those things that most people don't always want to do is called hard work. We want the relationship, we want the love, we want the compatibility, but then we don't want to work hard for it. And you have to have two. You have to have two to tango, but two to work hard for it. Because a relationship is not a relationship if there's not another party. There has to be another party, another person involved. So hard work is one of those things, and it doesn't have to be difficult. Again, open communication, loyalty, as I said before, building trust. If the trust has been broken, then that means that person has to actually come to the table, both of you, and discuss whether you're going to keep this relationship. Because one thing about infidelity, it really tears down a relationship. Betrayal tears down a relationship. Rejection constantly tears down a relationship. I'm saying all of those things, especially those things, even guilt can tear down a relationship as well as grief. Like, a lot of times when a person loses a child, in a relationship as well. If there's someone that lost a child, if they're married, then sometimes that marriage does crumble and fail. So they're supposed to hold on to each other, but sometimes they drift apart. So these are just kind of different factors that will lead to broken relationships. So again, we are talking about building that relationship and repairing, and being able to notice the patterns that are happening, so that we can keep a good flow of a relationship. So number 8, because we stopped at number 7, which was work hard. Number 8 is called build new patterns. What does that mean? The best way to get rid of the old patterns is to build new ones. So you have to look at the habits that you have when it comes to how you're responding to that person. You're not going to respond to them like you did before. Remember, you are healing. You are healing, right? So even if you're upset about something, take the time, be humble, and discuss with them. Say, let them know, you know, I don't think this will be the best thing for us to do right now. Instead of saying, I'm not doing that, you wrong. Don't come off with your words. Just say, and try to use us and we. And if you use us and we, what happens is you're not pointing fingers. You eliminate that separateness, say, or that divided mindset. Because again, if you're in a relationship, especially heterosexual, and you're building a relationship like a new a relationship when it comes to, family, husband and wives. If you still, no, that 5 years, you still got that 5 years going on, or that new year, that first year. Okay, remember the words us and we. Us and we is assertive communication, but it also stops people from feeling that you are pointing fingers at them. Because remember, don't do anything to someone that you don't want done to you. Do unto others as you wish to be done. That's what the good book says, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing in relationships. So as we are doing that, we want to find different ways, okay, to enjoy ourselves. So maybe we didn't have the best relationship before, but now we're going to look at areas of where we'll be able to say, hey, let's have date night. Hmm? Date night could be right there in the house. Let's sit down in pajamas and eat popcorn and watch Netflix. You see what I'm saying? Things like that. Or you can go ahead and do a candlelight dinner, and let's act like this our first time. Be creative. Marriage relationships, especially heterosexual relationships, are very good when it comes to open ideas and to keep things going. Don't get so stogie. You know, do speak to them out of love. Speak to them out of areas like being able to like, oh, let's better this relationship. Let's like this make it exciting, especially if it starts to get boring. And remember, you have boundaries. I think Carolyn said that as well. Just going to share that with you. I say, honey, can we talk about this another time? That works for us. We respect one another boundaries. Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't just put your partner off and don't go back to it. No, if you said talk to another time, okay, that's what we're going to do. You said, what's a good time to talk? Let's do it the night before we go to bed. If that works for you. Number 9 is honesty, honesty, honesty. You can never have enough honesty. You can never have enough honesty. Um, One should really say what's on your mind in a nice, humble way. You have to scream and yell your thoughts or your opinions. Just allow yourself to be present in the moment. Say, hey, I didn't like what you did last week, right? Can we just talk about that and heal from that? I don't want that to happen again. And if you did that, tell me why you did it. What was you thinking? That way I will know. I can get a good understanding. That's what I want. I want a good understanding. So as we go through that, honesty is one of those. It's like it's a balm. It's like a balm to a cut. And it just helps. It just soothes. Put everything out in the open. That's what you need to do, and be extremely honest, and you will see a big, big difference. And you would hopefully they will also do the same. Number 10 is give it time. Some things we want to happen right then and there. Okay, the relationship didn't start right then and there, did it? You have to give it time to heal. Depending on the reasons of the breakup, or the disagreement, you got to give it time. You want to acknowledge it. You want to know to develop the new habits and routines. Because they just don't happen overnight. They have to happen in within your mind and also within the other person's mind. So definitely give it time. And if you feel again that is not something like happening within some weeks, and you're like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's have that discussion again. I know we've been through, and you come to them just like this. I know we've been through quite a deal. A lot of things has happened. You know, a lot of things has happened, but I just want to let you know I'm real concerned about us, and I want us to heal. And I see this. It's been a while, you know, since we talked. It's been a while since things is happening. It doesn't seem like things are going in the direction I want it to go or we think it should go. What do you think we need to do? Put it out there like that. What do you think we need to do? I think it's real important that we have that mutual understanding. Again, most relationships start failing because nobody's communicating. Remember, you walking around each other just like you're invisible, like you're part of the furniture. And the only person you talking to might be the dog or the cat. And your children, they feeling some kind of way too. They're trying to figure out, why they ain't talking to each other. They don't feel, do you know children can feel when you don't love each other? Hmm? They're not going to say anything to you unless they're real young and inquisitive. Inquisitive children, they will. Mommy, why you and daddy don't hug no more? Little children do that. Now, children over the age of 10, they don't say nothing. You may see some of them change in their moods. They may get angry for no reason because they're frustrated, because they're holding stuff inside and not telling you about it. And they are afraid. They are afraid that, you guys are going to leave each other, you know. And most parents do not discuss their stuff with their children. I don't understand why. And you say, well, that's grown up business. Well, grown up business affects children, does it not? Grown up stuff, yeah, they affect children. So when there's no open communicator in the house, that means your children just gotta assume what's going on. And you want to know why they get so irritated, agitated, or they start acting out in school because they're bringing this stuff to school. Yeah, they're bringing their emotions to school. They can't bring them to you, so bring them to school. So I have my guest in the back, the executive director of the Female Solutions. She's just going to join
Hey.
us. There you go. Hello. Hello. Good morning. Grand Rising.
Yes, Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
yes. Again, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that had you gotten to number 11 yet? I know you were on number 10.
Yes. No, I haven't. Not yet. I was on
Okay.
number 10, which is give it
Yeah.
time. Hmm.
Yeah. I'll let you finish number 11 before I make a comment. Because, yeah,
Okay.
I'm
No
checking on
problem.
applied to me.
Oh, okay. Well, number 11 is love yourself first,
Ah,
which is that's and love yourself first in the relationship because if you don't love you, how can you love someone else? You have to develop your relationship with yourself first in order for you to heal, through it all. And you say, well, wonder why that wasn't number one, because most people don't usually do that. So we say the last for best, right? And
yeah.
what does that mean? How do we repair ourselves in a relationship and love ourselves? Well, the thing about this is simply one, to be emotionally available for you, what you're feeling when it comes to this relationship, and honoring your own feelings, honoring them, not just saying, oh, I feel this about you, but I'm more concerned about you. You hear a lot of people say that. No, we need to be concerned about each other. It
Yeah.
should be a balance here. It should not be all of you and none of me or vice versa. It should be mutual ground. And I think mutual grounds are the ones that will keep a relationship going versus one that will destroy it that's not mutual. If it's not mutual ground, eventually think about it. If something is not even, eventually it's going to start toppling,
Yeah.
and when it topples, when things are not evenly placed, then there will be some neglect in that relationship. And that's when whoever feels neglection, and usually is one or the other or both, sometimes it can be both people. Now I can't talk to you anymore. Now
Mm,
I'm going to compromise. That's when we go to that compromise misery. Oh, I'm just in it for the children. Well, I'm just in it because I don't want to sell all the houses and the cars. Or I'm just in, you know, you're going to keep telling yourself that, oh, maybe it'll get better. That's why I'll compromise with it. Maybe it'll get better. And years and years and years go on and it never gets better.
yeah, it gets better.
Mm,
Yes.
because it never healed.
It, yes. The
It never healed.
the problem with staying in a relationship when it's bad and you have children is that you have taught them that a dysfunctional relationship is normal. And so they never learn how to create a functional relationship that is good, where people are actually happy because they didn't see it. So all they know about what a marriage looks like, what a family looks like, is whatever you've allowed to continue in your home. So you're living with somebody who's an alcoholic. They get used to, the party coming home drunk and you arguing, and or you're living with somebody who's violent. Will they get used to someone becoming violent and beating up everybody in the house, and the police getting called, and then you're making up and they do it again the next weekend? They get used to that being a normal way of life. They get used to arguments over somebody cheating and somebody not being faithful and exclusive in the marriage, because every week you all are arguing about it, and you go on year after year. They get used to that being normal. So whatever you compromise on, thinking you have to stay in a bad relationship, this is what you're teaching your children, to have a bad relationship and stay in it. One thing I think is critical that we do is change the language. When we talk about a failed marriage, we need to not put stigma on making a decision to split when you are no longer compatible, or if a person has a habit or habits that make it unpleasant to live with them. And if people would change what they think a marriage represents and its purpose and have a correct understanding, then we can make better decisions. I think when it comes to the marriage vows and the idea of, we're standing before God and I'm going to stay with you for better or worse, richer for poorer, forever and ever till death do us part. You made a vow. Okay, I understand that. We need to perhaps upgrade our understanding that we are growing constantly and evolving. Sometimes the person you were at 22 when you were deeply in love is not the person you are at 42. And sometimes you have grown in one direction and evolved in your understanding, in your interests, in your pursuits, in your lifestyle. And your partner has not grown in the same direction. Their goals may not be the same. Their interests may not be the same. Their habits may not be the same. Or maybe the situation is at 22, you all got married, and at 42, emotionally, they're still 22. And you can't help them to grow up because for whatever reason, they're stuck there. Maybe a childhood trauma, whatever the situation is, you realize that they cannot evolve and you cannot progress because you're constantly in conflict because they can't progress. So is it loving yourself when you will not allow yourself to evolve into the being that you came to become? And you're yoked with someone and you're no longer equally yoked, you're way up here and they're way down here and you're stumbling along together. So the intelligent thing to do is to end that union. That's the loving thing to do for yourself and them. Maybe God needs to work on them in solitude and you need to not be there enabling or whatever the situation may be. So when we make it sound like we failed because we didn't keep our vow to God to stay until death, where do these notions come from? And do they really make sense? And do you really think God wants you to suffer through life? Some people believe that God wants us to suffer.
Right.
That the creator of the universe wants us to suffer in a situation, no matter how bad it is, because we made a vow. And that's incorrect thinking. We are in a union with someone for benefit. And if we're not mutually benefiting, and we know that after year after year after year, and things cannot change, then a separation is necessary. But like you said, we don't have to be bitter about it. And that's part of the problem, is that we feel like we need to punish the person for not being who we wanted them to be. That's incorrect as well. People are who they are. And they can't help who they are. Yeah, I tell you something. My father said something to me that I think was the wisest thing that I ever heard that really helped me a lot. Because there's a point where in your adult relationship, you become friends. And when I was married, and my husband had a lot of traits that my mother had that would just irritate me to death. And my father, of course, he married to my mother and everything. So, sometimes I'd drive him to as he got older, he needed me to drive him to his various doctor's appointments and other appointments. And so we'd be in the car having this conversation. My spouse is driving me crazy. He talking about my mother driving him crazy, and I'm talking to him about my husband driving me crazy, and we'd be laughing, And because of course sometimes they were the same things, both they both had certain traits, stubborn, stuff like that. And we'd laugh, and he finally said, "Oh well, she can't help how she is no more. Now I can help how I am." And I thought about that. And I said, that's just such simple.
Right.
Yeah, that's who they are. They can't help it. And you
Hmm.
laugh it off and let it go. And that helped me a lot
Right.
because I understood that if you have whatever, however long your courtship was, and you decided this is the person I'm gonna be with, by then you know their faults and then you know yours. So
Hmm.
you're agreeing for better or worse, their best self, their not best self. You're going to love them anyway. You're going to love them as you go through this journey in life together. And that's the agreement you've made.
Right.
If it becomes painful, it's okay to end it if it gets to the point where it's damaging. And that's where you got to use your common sense. And that's like sometimes we don't use our common sense. And so we stay in a situation where we're suffering, the children are suffering, they're watching us suffer.
Hmm.
And so we're teaching them this is what a marriage is. You suffer through it until one of you dies. And
Correct.
that's not.
Yes. Yes. Right. And again, you can't hide it from children anyway. I think whatever the compromise is for is something that you did. You compromise. And I totally agree. God does not want us or desire us to be in any type of misery. So wherever that relationship, if it's not workable, if it's not healthy, if it needs to be, it needs to be changed. And you step out of it. You have to get to a point where you are willing to let go. And as I was talking about earlier, a lot of times we get addicted to people. We get addicted to dysfunction. We get addicted to emotions concerning them. And before we realize it, time and years has passed by, and long time ago you should have already left the relationship, but you chose to stay in. And that's a choice. God doesn't make choices for us. We make choices for ourselves. So it's a choice to stay in a
Yeah.
relationship. And you notice that if that relationship is not working and it's not healthy and it becomes volatile, if you notice something, if the Almighty God gave you the understanding to make a choice, and you choose to stay in dysfunction, and you know it's dysfunctional, it's just going to get worse. That's all it's going to do. It's not going to get, a lot of times we even pray against that. Lord, change this person. Change. No, they got to change themselves. God doesn't change people. People change themselves. He didn't create robots. We
Right.
pray, we pray for a peace. And that's what it is. You pray for the will of God, which is the peace of God, to come in and have peace on both sides of the issue. But again, you got to love yourself. You have to be aware of what you're doing. Why the big why are you in the relationship in the first place? When you know
Yes.
it's not healthy. It's not, you don't have to point the finger at somebody else. Oh, they did this to me and they're doing this to me. And you constantly hear people. I've heard a person complain about a relationship over and over and over again, but you never leave them. I don't understand.
Right. I see it all the
I
time.
don't
Hear
get
it
it.
all. The same complaint year after year.
What's the
And then,
purpose
okay, you
behind
love
that?
suffering or what? Why are you still there? They were doing this last year and the year before and the year before. But it comes from people growing up in
It's
dysfunctional
addiction.
relationships. And and so they chose somebody that was dysfunctional in the beginning, thinking, "Oh, I'm going to change them."
Yeah.
You're not going to change, especially, and this is a classic, and I'm sure you see it all the time. Perhaps somebody grows up in an alcoholic family. And so for some reason they're drawn to somebody who's got an alcohol problem, and they spend 10, 20, 30 years complaining, angry, arguing, thinking they're going to change that person. And what they're doing is reliving that parent that they couldn't change,
Right.
and couldn't change the parents. Now you're going to try to change the spouse. You're still not going to change that person who has an addictive habit, because that person has a dysfunctional way of handling their emotional pain. You can't fix that. But it's a subconscious thing we do in selecting somebody that is familiar with what we've grown up with, the dysfunctional parent. So we tend to repeat the pattern until we figure out this is what they're doing. This is what I'm doing. I'm trying to fix my spouse. I couldn't fix my father. I couldn't fix my mother, but I'm gonna fix my spouse who has the same problem as my mother or my father. You can't fix somebody. And if you grew up in a household that was dysfunctional and you watched the dysfunction and that became normal to you and that became the thing that you sought out and found subconsciously and spent repeated the pattern, spent decades unhappy and angry, and your children watching you unhappy and angry. So what are they going to do? Unless they figure out that this is a pattern that they don't want to repeat and they consciously do not choose the same kind of addictive behavior in the person that they marry, unless they consciously do that, they're going to repeat that same pattern. That's what you've talked about, generational curses. You keep repeating the same pattern over and over and over again until somebody in that figures it out and says, I'm not going to do that. Yes,
right, because they become emotionally aware. That's the only way you're going to do it. You got to be emotionally aware. Otherwise, if you have no awareness, you're just going to keep the patterns going, and you're going to transfer those patterns into your children and their children until again, the light's going to come on, right? So let's talk about that for a minute. Being emotionally aware of the dysfunction and you know what blocks that? What is it that blocks that your mind or someone's mind from not seeing the whole truth, you know? And no, it's almost like you're in a facade. You're living a facade. And I'm going to tell you what it is. It's called fear. See, you got fear is false evidence appearing real, right? So, which means that this person is living in fear. Especially, I'm talking to those who are in a dysfunctional relationship when you know you're being verbally abused, when you know you're being emotionally abused or physically abused, you know what I'm saying, or even financially abused. Some people are abusing people in their finances. They are taking advantage of them, making them spend their money, taking their check. I'm so serious. He's like, well, how can a person do that to another person? Oh, it is being done. Yes, it is. Environmentally being abused, socially being abused. Oh, you can't hang out with nobody. You can't go to your mother's house. You can't go nowhere. You got to come home from work. You go to work and you come home. So now you're being controlled by a narcissist. Huh? You see how this thing can really just take a whole nother turn?
it
So
does.
fear then keeps you trapped. It keeps you trapped in a relationship. And you were saying something earlier. You're like, why do people complain and still stay in there? It's because of fear. It's the fear of the
Yes,
unknown. What's going to
fear of
happen
being
if I
wrong,
leave? What's going to happen if I leave? What's
fear
going
of
to
my,
happen if
yeah,
am I going to get another mate? I'm fearing of
yeah,
being alone.
yeah,
I don't want to be alone, so I might as well stay with this dysfunctional, broken person that's treating me any kind of way.
yeah. I just adjust to it and complain to my friends and go right back every day. Eventually, your
Oh,
friends get tired of listening to you because they know that no matter how much you complain, you're going to keep taking it. And no matter how much advice they give you, you're going to ignore it and keep going back. So there you go. You've made a decision to be in a dysfunctional relationship. And if you grew up in the philosophy of, well, a no good man, what is it? A no good man is better than no man at all. If you grew up with women who have that kind of philosophy, women, hey, there you go. That's what you'll have. I know we got to take our last break, and we'll be right back in just a moment. And for those who are watching on YouTube and Facebook, if you want to call in and comment, call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 so we know you have something to say. We'll be right back after this last break, so stay with us.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Do you or your organization need space for an event? Call the Quarry Event Center at 2423 East 75th Street in Chicago for your parties, banquets, award ceremonies, repasses, concerts, and business seminars. Available 7 days a week. Now under new management. Call us at the Quarry at 773-663-2557. That's 773-663-2557. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Life transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com.
All right, all right. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green on Soulful Solutions with our wonderful co-host Naima Latif, our executive producer of The Female Solution. And I want to read a comment from one of our Facebook viewers. Carolyn Heron wrote, once the light bulb came on for me in my past broken marriage, I began to take inventory of everything. And I made it a discussion to leave no matter, to leave no matter what anyone else said or what they felt was the right thing to do. I was the one in the marriage for years of misery. I refused to continue to pretend everything was okay. Thank you for sharing that with me, because there's a lot of people that actually are still pretending.
Yeah, and
They're
sometimes
still
there's
pretending.
family pressure to stay in a marriage. People say things like, nobody in our family ever got divorced. Again, like we failed at marriage. So that's
Mm.
a cultural attitude we have to overcome. And I know we don't want our families to break up, but maybe if we worked harder on getting to know people and understanding the things that make a relationship work, it's got to be based on a friendship where there is mutual respect. If you don't have that whatever else you go through in the marriage is not, you're not going to be able to sustain a relationship.
Right.
Yeah, the person
Mhm.
might be good looking, they might have some money, and all those, they might have status, but those are not the sustainable qualities for a marriage. All of those things are superficial that can change. If you like a person, you like their companionship, you enjoy the same things, you have goals that are in harmony, those are things you can build on. You can't build on somebody's, cute shape behind, or, nice long hair, or whatever else you think is a necessary asset. Yeah, those might be physical attributes, but who are they as a human being that is in harmony with who you are as a human being? And
Right.
if you're looking at superficial things to last forever, they don't. And that's why a lot of relationships, I've talked to a lot of men, I'm sure you've had the same conversation, men who are all broken up because oh, she changed after we got married, and I can't
Mhm.
stand her now. And I'll say, well, What kind of things you all talk about when you were dating? You know, when you first got involved. Oh, we didn't really talk. Oh, okay. Well, that's how
Mm.
come you didn't know who she was in the first place. Oh, but the sex. Okay, well, and then you married her for that, but then everything else about her, now you can't stand her. She was that person already. You didn't see because you were looking at something else that isn't the reason to marry someone. You're talking about a whole
Right.
person that you're making a part of who you are, part of your future. They're making you a part of theirs.
Hmm.
Did you all even discuss your goals? You know, where do you see yourself 10 years from now? Did you discuss your child rearing philosophy? Do you believe and you know, how do you believe in shaping and correcting a child or guiding a child or teaching a child or what do you think about in-laws? Do you visit? Do you not visit? You know, I mean, things that your life involves. You know, how are you about paying your bills? Do you sit down and make a budget every month? Who's going to handle that? It had to be handled. If you don't discuss the things in life because you didn't see your parents do it, then you don't know you should do it. And that's the reason why if you keep your children growing up in a dysfunctional relationship where they never see how you resolve an argument, they never see you happy together, having fun together. They don't see that enough to know that that's what the relationship looks like. If all they have in their memory is the arguments, the fights, the pain, the anger,
Right.
they don't
Hmm.
know what a good relationship feels like. They just know what they have or what they ended up in feels bad, but they think they're supposed to stay there because that's what you did,
Yeah.
which was setting a bad example. Now, one thing I will say though,
Right.
because we do have to take responsibility for what we create in our relationships. I just learned this year, number 3 that you mentioned, that was me. Always
Okay.
bringing up the past, always throwing it in my husband's face. And then, you know, he would talk to me about it. Okay, here you go again. You're bringing this up. This happened 5 years ago. But I had not healed. And
Hmm.
I just learned this year not to do that and
Mm.
why not to do that. Because when you bring up something that hurt you, you are reliving that pain. You are recreating that moment that hurt you. And then you're
Right.
treating
Yeah.
your loved one as if they just did it again, and they didn't. They did it that one time, maybe, but you keep bringing it up and reliving it and bringing up all the pain that comes from it. When in
Right.
fact, you must know how
Hmm.
to let it go. And like I said, the wise words of my father, they could, when he said, "Oh, she can't help how she is no more than I can help how I am," because he acknowledged his faults as well. Well,
Uh,
whatever happened in that situation,
right.
that was the state of mind that you were in. That's the state of mind that they were in. They couldn't help it, and you couldn't help how you were. So that was where you were in your own personal evolution at that time. And you did that thing that caused pain. That's not who you are
Hmm.
today. So stop bringing up who you no longer are and who they no longer are and reliving hurt. Let it go. And I was asking someone who is a very, very wise counselor about an issue that had caused me pain for years. And they told me it's not what happened that hurt you, it's what you think about what happened that's causing your
Right.
suffering.
Hmm.
If you're stuck on they disrespected me, they disregarded my feelings, they humiliated me. If you're stuck on that and you keep replaying that tape in your head, that's what's causing you to get angry. Not what they did, it's what you keep thinking about what they did and keep replaying it and then keep reliving it when you throw it up in their face instead of choosing to rebuild a future and create different memories, create good memories together, and let the old
Hmm.
memory create happy memories. And when
Right.
you do this, then the
Right.
old memory it disappears. So it took
Yeah.
me this year to understand how to let go of something hurtful in the past by understanding it no longer exists. And going back to it can't make it not have happened. And that's what we keep thinking.
Nope.
Well, if I go back and throw it in your face, then I can make sure you don't do it again. No, you just made them do it again in your mind, which means you relived it. So the thing you fear is going to happen, you actually made happen, reliving the pain. So stop bringing it up.
Hmm.
It took me, it took me all of this
Yeah.
time for me to understand that when I was doing that, I was
Wow.
only
Really. Uh,
self.
yeah. That's a sabotage of a relationship when you do that.
Yeah.
And you, when you bring the past things back into the present moment, again, you find it hard to regain the trust of that human being, because
Yes.
they
Because
always gonna think
they,
that you don't trust them, and
mhm.
you're constantly holding things against them, and so they can't heal either. So you're preventing healing from two ends, not just in yourself, but you're preventing it from the other person as well.
Yeah.
Again, I think a person should always stay in the present moment, and if you haven't healed from it, then you need to discuss it another time, not at the
Yeah.
time that you have a present thing going on. You discuss it at another time. And once you do that, you allow yourself to, again, to become the controller of self. The controller of self simply says, I love myself enough to love you.
Yeah.
I love myself enough to love you. I don't love you enough to love me. No, that's the incorrect place.
Backwards.
You come from a place of love. You're not reaching out for love to bring to you. You come from the place of love, because love is inside of us. It's there waiting to be used so that it
Mhm.
will do its greatest work in your life. And if you're still, again, not healing from your experience in this relationship or relationships in the past, then it's not going to be easy for you to continue moving forward, especially when you're trying to repair. You have some people, they don't understand what do you call healing and repair. It's not the same thing. You got to first
Mhm.
repair. You
Yeah.
have to first repair. Then
And I
you have
think
to
that's
heal.
right. I think that's the kind of conversation people need to have. And arguing about something isn't the same as repairing it, but you do have to be able to discuss what it is that was the problem. That's one thing my husband and I, we would let our daughter see us repair, because she'd hear all the arguments, but then she needed to
Hmm.
hear how we repaired it, how we discussed what had happened. Well, you said you were going to be back at a certain time and you weren't, and I had an appointment and I needed the car, and now you made me miss my appointment, and so that's why I was angry. All the whatever happened, you talk about it. Oh, well, I lost track of time, or I forgot you said you had an appointment. I'm sorry. Whatever the thing is, you talk about it and you resolve it, and you resolve how you're going to handle it next time, and then it's over. So we let her see
Hmm.
the resolution after she had seen and heard the argument about the situation, so that she understood the steps of how to repair a conflict, and not just here arguing all the time and then that's it. Because you need to learn how. And most of us,
Right.
many of us, did not grow up in households where we saw the repair. We didn't see the resolution. We just knew people got angry and cussed each other out and fought and however they did. And then maybe eventually
Hmm.
they started speaking again or whatever. But it didn't help us understand how to resolve it. And then we might have seen parents that would bring the thing up again and argue all the time. So when you see a dysfunctional pattern, unless you learn how to fix something, you just stay in that dysfunctional pattern. You don't know how to repair something. You don't know
Right.
how to talk about it when you're calm, as opposed to when you're angry and still calling each other names and everything. That's not the time to have a discussion about something that was hurtful. You do it when you're calm, with the intention of repairing, not the intention of showing that other person how they was wrong, but in the intention of repairing the damage. And that's why your relationship has to be on a foundation of friendship, where you have mutual respect. If you don't have that, and you're not able to talk to that person before the intimate relationship evolves, and you don't know how to talk about things, but you know how to have sex, and you know how to spend money together, but you can't have a conversation. When the difficult moments happen, you're not going to have the skills to resolve them, because you have not practiced talking and listening to each other. Like you mentioned, active listening. Listen, not
Hmm.
just trying to get your word in and make sure that they know they're wrong, because that's what we learned. How to win an argument. You can't win an argument. If you're arguing, you already
Right.
lost. So
Yes.
you can have a conversation that is healing and brings understanding and mutual appreciation. You can have that. You can't
Hmm.
win an argument. So don't. argue, have a discussion.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
listening with the intention to resolve the conflict.
Yeah, I think it needs to be open negotiation because conflict resolution is something that I actually teach on
Mm,
how to effectively resolve conflict, communication, and being open and honest, and also negotiating. Negotiating is if you have an open mind to negotiate, which is a flexible mind and not a closed mind, that you will then be able to then formulate a resolve. You can't formulate a resolve if you don't have an open communication because there's no way you will be able to again solve any conflict if you are not willing. You have to be willing to do that, and some people are not always willing. They want it their way, and that's it, and that's all it is. And
hmm
if that's what they want, then you give them, okay, you can have your way. I just won't be a part of it, but you can have it your way. I respect you. I respect you for doing or whatever you want to do, but I cannot comply with you when you give me nothing to work with,
Right,
you know.
right. Yeah, we
And
got a
and
caller.
complying, oh, absolutely. Complying is nothing. It's not the same as compromise. That's a big difference. Go ahead. You can take that caller.
Yes. Area code 312-882. Please. Thank you for joining. Give us your name and where you're calling from and your question for Dr. Debbie Green. Your mic is open. Area code 312-882. Give us your name, please, and where you're calling from and your question. All right, I hear me through your phone, but I don't hear your voice. Are you listening?
That's Dr. Clump. I mean, is this is this Minister Clump?
312-882. I don't
Lord, thank you for asking. I
Okay.
just want to say
question for Dr. Green.
thank you for all that you do, and especially conflict of interest in a relationship between even men, women, and children. Back in the day, they used to have the music, and the music said, "Brothers and you're gonna work it out." But see now, brothers and sisters, men, women, and children, and family have to work everything out with the help of the Lord. God is good, and we got the Million Man March coming up this coming Monday,
Well,
October 16th,
Minister Plump, Minister
Chicago.
Plump,
They have
Minister Plump,
Washington Town
Minister
and
Plump. You're not
Million
listening,
March.
Minister Plump. I keep trying to remind you all. This is a global audience. I love the work you're doing, but everybody listening does not live in Chicago. So Dr. Debbie is in Atlanta and has a large Atlantean listenership. So I'm not saying what you're saying is not relevant, but it's probably not going to have the impact that you would want on Dr. Debbie's show because of where she is. And we've got hosts from London, from Florida, and the things that you talk about that are local are not going to have the same impact. But we do appreciate all that you do, and thank you so much for calling
Thank
in.
you. Let us know.
Yes, we love you.
Okay. Oh, yes, yes. Thank you, sir, for commenting as well. Yes, we have to educate the families because there's too much domestic violence out here today, and all of this came from just a meet and greet. It all started with a meet and greet. Somebody met someone, and then it turned into other things. And that's when things started to get totally out of control, where we found ourselves, battling each other like we're strangers. But we first knew each other. We first loved each other, but then we went from that to no love at all. You know, and I mean, some people, and like I said, it is some people just don't want to be loved. They start off that way, and they send us the red flags. They send us the red flags, but again, we don't always respond to those red flags until things start to get totally out of hand. And then that's when like, oh, you are doing this to me, you're doing that to me. Well, yeah, I've been doing that to you for a long time. It just hasn't been to this severity, but it
Mhm.
starts in actions, it starts in words, it starts in gestures with disrespect. Somebody can disrespect you by sitting to a kitchen table and just ignoring you while you're talking to them.
Yes, yes.
And I mean, they think that's normal to you, and you're like, oh, they just in the mood. I'm not gonna bother them. And they do this every time, and you say it every time. They did, and then the thing about this is, if you got family over, oh, they don't do it then. They talk to you when family's over
Oh,
because they
and
don't
you know
want
that
family to know.
a lot of
They don't
situations
want family to know.
people are about to get a divorce and the family says, but what's wrong? I mean, they're such a wonderful person. Yeah, around the family.
Yeah.
And you see that happen a lot of times, even in domestic abuse situations, where they're on their best behavior around your family, and your family thinks they're wonderful, their family thinks they're wonderful, they're kind, they're funny, and all these things. And then everybody leaves and they're treating you like garbage. And so when you say you want a divorce, there's pressure for you to stay in that relationship that everybody has an impression is just wonderful. Oh, it must be you. They're nice. No, you don't know what I go through when nobody's watching. So it's a lot of situations
Yeah.
like that. That's why you got to be true to yourself. That's why number 11 is important. First, love yourself. Because if you love yourself, you know how you want to feel. And if someone's making you feel bad all the time or having you living in fear of either verbal and or physical abuse, then that's not a good feeling. You're not loving yourself enough to protect yourself from that. You have a right to not
Mm-mm.
experience that from somebody. So it's a difference between somebody who's got little annoying habits that you have to tolerate, because that's what marriage is all about. There's a difference between that and somebody who's abusive, where your emotional and physical safety is always in danger. So you got to know the difference, which is why you don't stay in a dysfunctional relationship and teach your children that it's okay to be hit or
Mm-hmm.
beat or kicked out of the house or or cussed out and threatened, or things that should not happen to a human being that one respects. If you stay in that kind of relationship, then you teach your children this is what marriage looks like and this is what it
Yeah.
feels like.
Mm-hmm. And I just, again, it is just important to know how to respond, even when you're in conflict. I want to just, before we finish up for this morning, please understand the power of the three P's. P's. Power of pause, power of patience, power of prayer. Power of pause, power of patience, and power of prayer. Live by the three P's and you won't go wrong. Because pause means let me give myself a moment. You can take that moment at any time. That moment can last from 5 to 10 minutes. It does not matter. It does not matter. You take your moment as long as you need to take it. You take it for yourself. And patience. You got to be patient with you first. Let me be patient with me because I know me, right? Before you can be patient with anyone else, you got to be patient with you. Don't so much tolerate other people and don't tolerate yourself. Okay, keep your balance. Power of prayer is just what it is. That's a petition to heaven. That's a petition to God. And let him come in that relationship and soothe and repair. Because a lot of times what happens is if we're not doing that, we're not soothing and we're not repairing. We're not soothing and we're not repairing. Remember what I said. Repairing is one thing, healing is another. You repair by doing and changing habits,
Seconds.
within yourself first before trying to do it in anyone else. And I think then you allow time to heal. Allow God to heal those areas in your life because we all got residue, okay? That's just what it is. Just a thorn in the flesh, right? Residue for wherever, whenever, however. But know this, all will be well. All will be well. And and everything will work out the way it needs to. Okay. So thank you so much, Facebook, for being with me. YouTube, please subscribe to the channel so that we can get more viewership. And let me know if anything that you want us to talk about. Let me know. Let me know if there's any topic in life, because I guess what? I got an MP3 when it comes to life. Anything you may be dealing with, I definitely do. Thank you, Carolyn, for being on. Thank you, Vieta, for actually being on as well as my wonderful sister Zelda. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And it is real. We need to support each other. We need to support each other. We need to support each other. All right. Okay. Well, all is well. Thank you so much again. We will see you really soon next Thursday. Friday, and of course, our Friday's host, Miss Viana Robinson, join Health and Well-Being with Viana tomorrow. There she is. Let me go ahead and flash that up for you. All right, for resolving conflict in the body. All right, we need that. That's on the female solution. All right. Okay, well, thank you, and you guys have a wonderful day. Goodbye.
We've come to the end of our show today, but you can hear every show in the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows. Listen to our radio shows.